Here's 3 reasons why your putt isn't getting any better. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 3 of the biggest things that helped me continue to get better at putting and overall helped me start winning tournaments in the MPO division. I hope these tips help y'all as much as they help me. Let's get right into it. First tip I'm going to give you that you're probably not doing: focus only on circle 1 putts. A few years ago, Eagle McMahon posted a video talking about how he only practices 15 footers, or a majority of his practice is only 15 footers. And if you were watching disc golf at that time, you know Eagle McMahon was an absolute beast on the putting green, and so I knew it was something that I wanted to give a fair shot. To be honest, I'm really glad Eagle posted that video because I thought most pros didn't really practice close putts inside the circle. You always see them making those big putts, and so you figured they practice those all the time. But I think this drill kind of shows that it's not quite like that. So that's what I did for at least 2 months. I practiced only 15 footers. I set up a station and I would just only practice inside 15 feet. Then after about 2 months, when my 15 footers started to feel like tap-ins, weird thing that started happening was I started noticing that I was making more putts from further than 15 feet, more than I had before, which was interesting because I had only been practicing really 15 footers. So after about 2 months, I started to notice a huge increase in all my 15 footers, but also it extended outside of that. And I think it was just because I was so confident in my 15 footers, I wasn't afraid to miss, but I was also just putting more confidently. I decided to back it up to about 20-25 feet. I figured this would cover all the main circle that I really needed, and I decided to hammer 25 footers and in for probably the next year or so. Then I started to realize maybe just by practicing my circle 1 putts, my circle 2 putting is actually going to get better too. I'd say it was probably at that time that I started to realize how much confidence inside circle 1 really kind of almost overflows on the putting green, and it will start to affect your circle 2 putts. That's when I started to think of putting inside circle 1 or practicing circle 1 putts as filling a glass of water. And the more times you putt inside circle 1, you're just filling that glass of water, right? And after so much practice inside circle 1, that glass of water is going to start overflowing, and it's going to start leaking into other cups. And I think something that I've realized throughout this, everybody says it, but this is a good way to practice it, is this is how you practice making putts. And that's what you want to practice. You want to practice seeing the putter go in the basket. And I think this is a really good format and kind of setup to allow yourself to do that, because you're kind of starting literally from the ground up, but you're going to build such a solid foundation, and you're hopefully going to see so many putts go inside the basket that whenever you step up to that 30, 35, 40 footer, it's not going to feel that much further than you standing at 30 feet, you know? And you're going to have that confidence. You're going to be able to see the putter go in the basket, and you're going to give yourself so much opportunities. I'm sure most of y'all at some point have heard the importance of intentional breathing, but I'm going to share some reasons how it's really helpful on the putting green and just on the course. So the biggest thing I focus on and on how to incorporate breath into my putt is I do a breath as I'm coming down. And then I have a slight hesitation of that exhale. So I'm coming down. And on the exhale, I'm coming up. And so what this is doing is long, slow exhales are actually what help slow our heart rate down. So by exhaling on the come up, I'm helping my body stay more relaxed, which is really going to help me from tensing up at the end of my putt, which a lot of time causes misses. And this, a lot of times people tense up in those pressure situations. So doing this is also going to help kind of keep you more relaxed in those pressure situations, which should help you make more putts all in all. So after a little bit of practice, is what started happening was when I would get the timing of it right, the disc would come out of my hand super smooth and clean. I wouldn't get any wobble on the disc, and it almost really felt like I wasn't even trying to putt the disc. And that's when I knew I should probably stick with this and just try to get as comfortable with it as possible. It was after that got comfortable was I was able to kind of withstand some of those high pressure moments, and I was actually beating my nerves a lot of the times, and so I started building more confidence on the putting green and just in my game, because in those high pressure situations, because I was focusing on my breath so much, it was helping me stay more relaxed, and I was actually showing up in those high pressure moments, which was one of the craziest things. And that's when I just realized how important breathing is, and so I kind of incorporated it into all of my game. But putting is an absolute staple where I think it's super important, because it's something that I focus on instead of the putt at hand. Instead of thinking about how I'm going to putt the disc, I just focus on my breath, and I know if I time my putt well with my breath, my muscle memory is going to kick in, and I'm going to be able to put myself in the best position to succeed and execute. This last tip is probably going to be the most simple tip you ever hear, but I don't hear it getting talked about a whole lot, and it's my tip on consistency over quantity. I see so many people who say that they can't make 100 putts a day, and so they don't putt, or they can't putt for 30 minutes a day. One of the biggest things that I learned, someone once told me, someone here in Austin who's a really good putter just told me one time that it doesn't matter if he only has a minute, he'll go out and just make 5 putts. Or, if he has 2 putters, he'll just make 2. And something he noticed, and something that I noticed too by doing that, is by doing it every single day, we're helping our body not forget the motion. And I think as long as we can keep that motion and that feeling fresh in our memory and in our body, it's going to help your putting. And also, as a result of that, a lot of times what would happen is I'd be like, oh, I don't have time. Okay, well, let me just make these 5 real quick. I would make those 5, and then I'd be like, oh, well, actually, I have time for one more stack. And then a lot of times I'd end up, if I actually did have time, I would end up having a small putting sesh. It kind of just happens organically, because you make one and then you want to make the next one better. And so by doing this too, I noticed that I was just putting more often, or I would get stuck, and short putting sessions would actually turn into long putting sessions, which I think is the best thing. But a lot of us feel like just because we can't put in a respectable amount of reps, it's not worth it. And I think that is the worst mindset you can have. Every single bit helps, whether if it's 5 reps, whether if it's 1 rep. All those littles add up, and I think when you're trying to get good at putting, acquiring touch is the most important thing. And this is going to help develop touch, because you are doing something every single day and you're going to get really familiar with it. That's going to wrap up today's video. I hope these tips were helpful. Like I said, these tips are honestly what helped me start winning tournaments. A lot of it was just dealing with pressure, and I think that's what a lot of these tips kind of help. But I also realized too that I thought I could just put in enough reps where I wouldn't feel pressure anymore, or I would overcome it, and I realized I had to overcome the pressure itself. I couldn't just work my butt off on the putting green and go numb to the pressure. And so these are some things I think you can practice that are going to help you manage the pressure on the putting green and help you make more putts. So like I said, hope you all enjoyed this video. Like I said, all these things need to be practiced. Don't just give up because it doesn't feel right. And do some research about breathing. Breathing is such a big thing, and I think everybody should breathe while they're putting. I think scientifically it's good for your body, and so many good things happen when we're breathing and when we're relaxed. So to me, it's just kind of a no-brainer. Hope you all enjoyed this video. We'll see you on the next one.